Yo, it's the kid, it's Pastor Ivan, and I am here on Church Outside Podcast, and I got somebody so near and dear to me. I really should start calling him more.
You
but
always can.
I know he be busy, and I know I can. Because when I text you and I ask you for stuff, you always respond. And you are the only person that responds to me the day of. And you don't understand how much I appreciate that as a nephew, and that's just somebody that you know, but I really do.
I got you.
This man is definitely in my top 5. I think my people would be mad if I told you you was in my top 3.
I got you.
You feel me?
Too many people should come in front of me. I got you. It's all good.
But if I had to pick outside of my family, top 3.
My man.
Definitely number 1.
My man.
Outside of my family.
I appreciate you.
Very insightful. I love to hear you expound on things because you also give the perspective that I think of, but the one I don't even consider.
Wow.
And sometimes you give the church side that I've already known, but why it's even deeper.
Yeah.
So today, I am so happy to have my uncle, YPJ.
Man, what's going on, nephew, man?
What's happening, Unc?
I'm glad to be here, man. I'm glad to converse with you, man.
You know I love you, man.
Me too.
I love to have these moments. I ain't even gonna jump with all the extra questions. We're just gonna get into the good conversation.
Yeah.
Why aren't the youth coming to church?
You know, there's a lot of reasons. I think one of the major reasons is we haven't placed a major emphasis on young people coming to church. And then when they do come, I always say this, we have to stop trying to turn young people into young old people.
That's good.
You know, and shift them into little church mothers and little deacons, but let them be the authentic, unique people that they are. My biggest goal right now is to make sure that our church is very intentional and youth focused, youth and young adult focused, to whereas the worship experience embraces them. Because a lot of times it's like you just go to church with your parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I want the parents to go to church with the youth. You know what I'm saying? I want the
like
youth to come, and then their parents be like, why are you so excited about church? And then they show up. So that's one of the major things that we focus on, man. And I think if the church world would place a greater emphasis, we would see them come back.
What made you look at it that way?
Because, dude, I got this is what I know for sure. If you don't have no youth in your church, it's only a matter of time before your church is non-existent. You gotta have that constant production of souls from young people up. So instead of me trying to convince older people who are pretty much already set in their ways, once I know you're saved, once I know you're growing in your walk of faith, now I need you to grow up and help me to win the next generation instead of me having to try to baby you as a grown person. You know, so that's when our focus just shifted toward the youth.
So you bring up the older crowd, older generation, and it almost seems like my generation and the older generation, not your generation, but older than you, we're kind of at odds. And it's not like, I think they think we want to take over church and not understand that we want to be a part of church.
Yeah.
So my question is, how do we bridge the gap? Is it our approach? Is it something that we can do better?
Yeah.
Because one thing I can say about my generation is if we can fix it, we will do what it takes to fix it.
I got you. Yeah, I think, man, I always say this, your approach is crucial to the result you desire. So a lot of times people don't understand.
Say that again.
Yeah, your approach is crucial to the result you desire, meaning that how you step to a person is going to determine how they respond.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of young people don't really understand respect, admiration, approach because they haven't been taught it. But in order for us to bridge this gap between generations, we need liaisons, representatives, mediators that will speak and say, I understand both generations. So like, take a person like yourself, you were raised in the church environment, so you understand the older generation and the younger, which allows you to communicate between the two. It's like if you went to Spain and you didn't speak the language, you would need a translator.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we have God place people in positions that serve as generational translators that are saying, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, or maybe we can go about it this way. But I really believe, man, that we have to put an emphasis on youth and young adult ministry. And when I say that, not just from the separate standpoint, but
as a
integrating them
collective.
into the service and allowing them to serve at that level.
And I think when you see a pastor, a leader that is intentional not to condemn us to come to church,
Yeah.
but to invite us wholeheartedly,
Yeah.
we become different in our approach and how we show up.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question, and I might step on some toes here. Is it wrong for the older crowd to kind of push us out?
But when you say push you out, what do you mean?
When we come to church, and Josh, you here, so if I'm wrong, say something. When we come to church, it's almost as if this is their house, they rules. You sit, you listen, you do what you told. Don't mess this up. If you gon' act crazy or you want to bring all that extraness, you need to go find another church. That's young for you. But in this house, where all of this older generation is, it's almost like you're not welcome.
Yeah, I think there are traditional churches that do have the wrong approach.
We at the crib, by the way.
Yeah.
At the crib, yeah.
I was like, somebody break it. But I think there are some churches that take the wrong approach because they don't have the knowledge to understand how to approach the situation. But in a healthy home, there should be general representation on every side. Like, you don't want to have a church structure that's just middle-aged people, or a church structure that's just older people, or for that matter, you don't want a church that's just
young.
people. So the dynamic that makes the church culture amazing is everyone being represented. And I honestly believe, nephew, that whole push out, it starts with leadership. If the leadership doesn't embrace the youth, then nobody else will. But in this scenario, God has placed a person like you in a unique situation where your mother's a senior leader, your grandfather is the founder, grandparents are the founders, and you have a voice that you can say, hey, look, I know y'all not going to agree with everything I do, but I do have...
Not at all.
Yeah. But you're like, I got the heartbeat of these kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know these kids' heartbeat. So what I like to do when I was a youth pastor, I would tell my idea, but I would also ask them, how do you guys think I can make this idea better? Because that gave them the opportunity.
Yeah, I don't be asking that.
It's a great way to kind of pull down that defense
It's a
wall.
great way to kind of bring them in.
Exactly. Because you're just saying, here's my idea. What do you think I should do to make it better? Now, they may say some stuff and you're like, yeah, that's not going to work. But they may also give you wisdom that you say, I didn't even think about that. You know what I mean? So that's why I was able to, because I would always tell my parents, like, yo, we should do a youth Sunday every month, but it should really not just be like a little goofy kid presentation. It should really be something that involves everybody.
But that still is great quality.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what happened was, this is what I saw, because the quality was so crazy, it brought life to the older people. And they were like, yo, I can't wait till Youth Sunday, that experience. You know what I'm saying? So,
and I believe that is the case. If they were to see the true want and need that we have to be in church, they would understand where we come from a lot more. Because we don't like the antics of church. We like church. And am I telling the truth? I don't care about your position, your title,
right.
deacon, all of it. If you're doing announcements, do the announcements, bruh. That's cool. But don't come over here telling me how to live and I know you.
Nah, I get it.
And I'm working on me.
Yeah.
You working on you, but don't make me feel like I'm not accomplishing something in my life.
You're not making progress. We need more empathy. I will say that. That's one of the major things missing in church. There's a lot of sympathy, but not empathy. And let me explain. With sympathy, a lot of times it really is you looking from the outside saying, oh, bless their little hearts. Sad. But empathy is, I remember what I went through. I remember what it was like to be your age. I remember what it was like to feel rejected, etc., insecure, whatever. And that makes you want to pull people in, you know? So as I became a senior leader, because I remembered everything I went through, I just was like, I don't want young people coming to our church feeling like they just like basically trying to survive the moment. You know, it's like, well, my mama here, I got to hurry up and get out of here. I wanted them to be just as delighted to come and to feel a sense of like kind of sorrow when they leave. So I'm like, how do we get them involved? And it can't just be music ministry. We started finding ways that made them feel like, no, this is my church. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm kind of at that point with our youth.
Yeah.
You know, before the pandemic, it was really about us being involved in the church.
Yeah.
That was something that, you know, me, the youth pastor before, Pastor Khalees, we really pushed.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a lot of at the time.
Right.
You didn't see the teens helping the ushers. You didn't see them doing those, being greeters. I think now they want to help in church, but they want to have their own church. And I don't mean like separate.
No, I get
But
it.
I want to get ministered to for me.
Yeah.
And I've recently come to find out that it's not that they don't like to come to church. It's the fact that the demand that a parent puts on church rather than letting them find their way through
Go
church.
in their relationship. Yeah.
You got to go over there. You need to be over there.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, hey, just go check it out.
But you know, a lot of those parents came from drag you to church, you know, so they think that that's
that makes sense.
Repeated method, and it's not. Because the thing about it is, man, anything you enjoy, you're gonna want to do it. You don't have to make somebody do it, but it's gonna take, and I take ownership as an older leader in this. Like, we have to be more open to the reality that sometimes, in order to win young people, you can't worry about your own preferences. Because you may not enjoy the trap worship. You may not enjoy, you know, some of the presentations.
Maverick Cities.
Yeah, but if you look at it and say it's working, why would I fight that? So on Sundays, I told my church one day, man, we got a lot of great older people in our church. I said, when they start singing this Maverick City, this Faith City, they singing Ty Tribbett, and you don't understand none of this stuff, just worship and be like, I know it's about Jesus. I said, but when I get up to preach, I'll make sure to sing y'all a hymn every Sunday. And that became a compromise to whereas they found that they actually liked the Maverick City song. It's just that they wouldn't give it a chance. Then when they started listening, like, wait a minute. Now they walk around singing, Jireh, you are new. You know, old school. But I think when we give what we're not used to an opportunity, we would be surprised at how much we have in common, you know?
I want to take a couple steps back. I want to ask you about your teenage life. When you're on this journey and you're trying to find your way, what do you tell yourself to make you end up becoming YPJ?
Man, nephew, when I was a teen, like, I was a PK, so I went through my rebellious phase. I'm like,
Facts. What's up?
It was a much more traditional environment. That's why I want to encourage you. I didn't know that God was raising me up to make our church more inclusive to young people. Because my parents, they didn't dislike youth. They wanted to help you, but that wasn't really their grace at the time. So at about 16, I started realizing that people would follow me, even at school. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't want to, why everybody want to know what I'm doing? And by 18, I got called into ministry. I didn't accept the call because I was too busy sinning. But around 20 is when I started really getting into it, right? And how it started off was, at 20 years old, I was in a Bible study. And this is back in the day when Bible studies used to be packed. Like, nowadays, it's hard to get anybody to come to a Bible study.
You can't get nobody in the building on
But
Wednesdays.
they used to be, everybody's church Bible study was filled up. And in that Bible study, let's just say that night, there was about 350 people in our little building, right? Out of 350 people packed in this building, there's 12 teenagers. And I remember saying to my dad before church, I was like, Dad, I know this is crazy, but you think when it's time for you to preach, I can take the 12 teens out and just talk to them? He was like, all right. He ain't beef with me. He was like, all right, go ahead. So I took the 12 teens to one of our classrooms.
That's crazy for him to let you do.
It was back then?
Because you know pastors got that,
Bruh.
you ain't minister to my congregation while I'm talking.
But in his mind, it was like, well, it's just 12 teens. I'll go over it. Yeah. So we talked. And after church was over, we said, how'd it go? I said, man, Pops, I just talked to him about life and kind of like what I've learned. He's like, okay, do it again next week. Next week's 20 kids, right? And I told him, I said, I had 20 back there. He said, 20? Do it again next week. Nephew, before it was all said and done, we had 250 teenagers. We almost doubled the size of the Bible study because they had their 350 on their side.
Now you
We
got
had
your 250.
My pops was like, oh, you keep this going as long, because he saw kids
The results.
excited. And the results couldn't be denied. Now what happened was these teenagers' parents, that's why I talked about the kids bringing the parents, they going, why my kid want to go to church on a Wednesday? So they scared, and they thinking, what they over there doing to my children? So they come, you know what I'm saying? And I think from that moment, my parents got the revelation, if the youth are coming to church, you're going to get adults in that building. So we switched the whole model, but God used me to bring that in. So that's why I'm on you like, yo, God is obviously raising you up so that you can present a new model for church growth. And people do not believe young people are the way because they don't have a lot of money. But they bring an energy and a life to a ministry that causes those with money to come. Yeah. So that's kind of that's how it all started for me, man. And I've been rolling with it ever since.
You know, when I started, it was on the heels of somebody moving, and I think for me, I've always, you know this, I'm always ready.
Yeah.
If you put it on the table,
yeah,
we gonna get it done.
Yeah.
And so I think I knew I was already ready for it, but when the position came, the time came, I just attacked it. Like, I almost looked at it like a starting position in basketball.
Yeah.
And I don't like to tell people that I relate a lot of my life to basketball. Yeah. And even with Christ being my coach. I look at church and just my life. Yeah. It's easier for me to put things in basketball scenarios.
Yeah, I get it.
God being my coach, listening all the time, even when I don't want to, following those instructions. Him telling me, you got to practice on discipline. Yeah. You worked on it, but you get it and then you lose it. Yeah. So that's why I've been training lately, building my discipline back up. Yeah. Not just in that one area, but applying discipline to everything. Okay, get back on the regiment from military school, waking up 6 o'clock, working out at 7, starting your day at 8, being done by 3.
Yeah.
Working out again at 4:30, hooping from 4 to 7, maybe 8, eating dinner, repeat.
Yeah.
And in those times, finding where I'm talking and doing all of these other things. But he left, and when I think I called Jocelyn, and I was like, I think it's time. Like, I think it's happening.
Yeah.
And she was like, what you gonna do? And I'm like, what you mean I'm gonna do? What you mean I'm gonna do? I'm finna be a starter. I'm finna become the youth pastor. And she was like, you can, but what you gonna do? I was like, I'm gonna call you back in 3 days. Do you remember this? I called her back in 3 days. I said, send me your email. I sent her my 6-month plan, 3 days.
There you go.
And I think for me, as a generation, we gotta stop looking for people to hand things to us and just say, I'm gonna do it.
Especially if it's sitting on the table.
Because if we want to be honest, like my mom, she knew that was an aspiration, but she never asked me to do that position. My grandfather never asked me. I forced them to give me the position.
You saw it was open.
I was gonna take it regardless.
But I'm saying, like, when you know it's okay, I'll give you an example. Remember when Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, KG got together? Big three, won the championship. Most people don't know the reason they won that championship, of course, is because of them three, but the real person that changed that team was Rajon Rondo. Right? Boston didn't have a point guard, and Rajon Rondo was not a star. He was just coming out of Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Nobody really knew.
Young kid.
Right. But he saw that there was an opening for a point guard, and he was like, I'm the point guard. In his mind, he's like, I'm the point guard. So the whole squad, you got ESPN, you got Fox, everybody, all this kid, Kentucky. He was just an okay player at Kentucky. This dude comes in, learns the system, learns the game, and he starts running the team, right? They win a championship. The next year, he turns into an all-star because his confidence level went up in 1 year for him seeing an available position and saying, I don't care if y'all believe I can do it or not. I believe I can do this. And it turned around. So I think a lot of times you get people that'll look at a situation and they go, well, I'll wait until they tell me it's time. Sometimes it's time when you see it available.
And I think I'm coming into a realization that the older generation is not the generation of talk about it. If you're going to do it, just do it.
You can't deny results.
And I I kind of picked that up from my grandfather. He had me do this project for him. His intro for his roundtables at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
And I remember when he called me, he was like, "Hey, I want you to do this intro for me." You know me, I'm like, "You gonna give it to me, or you telling me you just want me to record something for you? Like, what you asking me for?" Yeah. He was like, "No, I want you to do it. Figure it out. Let me know when you can get back to me." And I was like, "When do you need it?" You know, he likes stuff in days.
Yeah,
he gave me 3 days.
Friday.
It's Monday.
Yeah.
He said, "I want it Thursday. I'm having the first class Friday."
Yeah.
I said, okay. I came in here and me and my cousin, we filmed it. No teleprompter, no nothing. And he was in here in the kitchen. We did it in like 15 minutes. He was like, "Y'all done?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I remember the call that he gave me when I sent him the final product. He was like, "This is crazy. I can't believe it. This is great." I'm like, it's actually trash, but it's actually not our best. And I think he appreciated that I took on the effort.
You took it serious.
Took it serious. Yeah. And didn't play with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I called him when I knew, hey, I know you expecting it Thursday morning. She's not going to be done with it till Thursday afternoon. You will have it by 2:00.
Yeah. That's integrity, though, nephew. And that's how you win the hearts of generals. It's through integrity, not kissing up. A lot of guys think that the way to the top is just kiss up, kiss up. No. When you have integrity to say, you know what, you tell your grandfather, I'm going to do it. And then you give him a product and a presentation that you promised him at a certain time you do it. Now, this is a powerful truth, nephew. Remember I said this. Trust is established through the consistency of fulfillment. What that means is the more you fulfill what you say you're going to do, the more I trust you. And the more I trust you, the more peace I have with whatever you request of me. So what I'm learning, man, like honestly, there are people at my church, they can ask me for anything and I'm going to say yes. Because every time they've ever done a thing, they came through. So I trust them. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I think even with the younger generation, you're setting a model of, hey, guys, I wasn't necessarily picked. I picked up what I saw and showed everybody I'm the one you should pick. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I definitely feel like that.
Nah, you remember on the playground when they would pick 5 to play ball, it'd be like, and it'd be like 2 dudes on the gate. They didn't get picked because of how they looked.
Right.
One of the 2 dudes was nice, though. You know what I'm saying? He nice. Then they picked the tall dude. He ain't got no skill.
Trash.
Because he was, right.
Just tall. Waste of talent.
So then the little dude over here like, yo, man, I could hoop. And then once they realized tall dude trash, like, man, get him out of here. Come on, little dude. Little dude come in and score 25.
Right.
He balling.
Put the team on his back.
So now, anytime he comes to the park, he number 1.
He first pick now.
So that's how a lot of dudes, they don't get picked the first time. And they like, man, I'm not going back. No, you got to say, you know what? My shot coming. And when it come, everybody going to pay. You know what I'm saying? So...
Do you think we beat ourselves up?
The younger generation? I think it's not all y'all fault, though. I think our generation hasn't built you up enough. Because we didn't build y'all up, y'all beat yourselves up. You know what I'm saying? I think we got to do a better job of saying we don't like your music, but y'all like your music. So I got to let y'all music be y'all's music. Because we got the same treatment from our parents.
Right. When it came to marry.
Man, listen, I was listening to... somebody the other day, I think Lil Durk, right? And they were like,
wait, time out, pause, backtrack.
Nah, I know. I was listening to Lil Durk.
You was listening to Lil Durk?
I was listening to Lil Durk.
Why?
So let me explain. So I'm listening to Lil Durk, right? I know, just you gotta hear me out.
If you know him, that is the funniest thing. What song?
Let me hear you out. I don't even know the name of the song. It's crazy. So I'm listening to this song, and this song is crazy, right? And one of my boys is like, man, I can't believe these kids is listening to this stuff. I said, dude, go back and listen to Snoop's record. Go back and listen to Lil Kim's and them records, stuff that we listened to.
Oh, especially Lil Kim.
It was just as bad.
If not worse.
If not worse. And then you go back, like, some of the stuff these kids are rapping about, like we talk about mumble rap and all that. I don't even understand what they're saying. But if you go back and listen to stuff that we listened to, you could understand what they were saying, but they wasn't talking about it. It was gibberish. You know what I'm saying? Bump, stickety, bump, bump. I got the rum, pump. Like, that didn't even make any sense. You know what I mean? So it's hard for us to, We should be building y'all up because we went through the same thing. And then our parents act like they wasn't listening to crazy stuff too. They were listening to crazy stuff.
Marvin Gaye and
And it wasn't as openly, crazy, but
provocative.
It was still suggestive. So I think there has
Still
to
suggestive. It was very suggestive. It was.
Let's get it.
It was what?
I need some. So
Do for love.
all I'm saying is, if you really consider why y'all beat yourselves up, it's because we don't build you up, and we have to do a better job of saying, man, they being young. Let's find a way to make this situation healthy for them, as opposed to trying to make them into, as I said, young old people. So I think the more we build y'all up, the less you'll see young people beating themselves up.
I got 3 more questions and then we done.
Yes, sir.
How do we build a culture that appreciates an older generation, but shows them we are here?
Yeah. I think, number one, celebrate them. Celebrate their accomplishments. Find ways to honor them, to let them know we know because we're only here because of you, And then what I've done, man, anything that I do, anything I do, I always make sure that I find a way to include them in what I'm doing, even if it's just as simple as mentioning them. Like every time I preach, anytime I preach at home in my church, my dad's there. My dad's my biggest cheering section, right? I'm always going to reference something he preached. Everybody knows it. I'm going to reference a line that he preached, something. It always, to let him know, he's why I'm here. I honor him for what he does. And that gives him a sense of peace. You'll see a lot of guys do it with Apostle, with your grandfather.
Right.
While they're preaching, they'll stop and say, because Apostle said, blah, 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 but your mother does it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying.
So that level of merger is always good. But I think, too, man, when you honor a generation, you got to always remember that if that honor is sincere, there's a generation coming after you as well. And they're going to honor you. Because, I feel like it was just yesterday I was 21, youth pastor, on fire, jumping out. Like your mother was teasing today. She's like, remember how we used to get everybody charged up? Let's do that. And I'm like, my knees don't even let me do that no more. But there was a time when I was backflipping off stage, When I saw you at Spiritual Encounter, I was like, man, nephew remind me so much of myself. Because it's like, I'm about to count to 3, and I want y'all, and I just watch these kids. And I'm like, I remember I used to do that. So it goes by so fast.
That was actually a wild moment for me. Like after Love City happened, and I got to Florida, I woke up in the middle of the night and it just kind of like hit
you like a ton of bricks. Yeah.
You was once the kid in the crowd.
Yes.
Even though my mom started it, like I remember walking to the altar like, I don't know why I'm here, but I want whatever it is.
But I remember watching you fall on your face at the altar in tears. Like, you know what I'm saying? As a teenager. So to see you praying for kids,
dude,
messed me up.
I think we had been in Orlando maybe 2 days. And I woke up at like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Nobody was up.
Yeah.
And one of the students had sent me a message on Instagram. It was like, hey, I know you probably sleep right now, but I just woke up and I had a moment, and I remember you telling me it's bigger than me. So I wanted to let you know it worked.
Wow.
And I lost it.
Yeah, he was done. It's a wrap.
What?
It's a wrap. First time you realize you impacted somebody's life and you don't even feel like you worthy at some point in your life, or you overcome that, you like, wow.
But I get that feeling every time. Like
it keeps you focused, because it's like, God, nobody's worthy, quote unquote, of God using us, but we take our rightful positions as joint heirs to Jesus Christ. We're His children. As Apostle always teaches us, we have a father-son relationship. But man, when He uses you like that, and I'm telling you, I watched you, I just was like, I cannot believe this. It's funny because it's like Jay is who you were. He's leading his friends to,
and that's why, like,
you know what I'm saying?
telling you, when I was in that moment, it all came. Like, Jonathan texted me during the conference, like, hey, bro, I'm proud of you. I never thought that I would see you like this, but it's so you.
It's crazy.
We on vacation. He like, bro, why you stop spiritual edibles? I love that. My brother, I'm like, you paying attention for real?
Dude, you don't understand, nephew. I'm telling you, we was all on the sideline, bro. I was sitting there going, I cannot believe it. I literally was saying that to him. I said, I cannot believe this. Look at Ivan.
You, me, we was all in shock.
Nah, dude. At one point, you had it so live in there, and it just made me proud. I don't know if you remember this one. It was me, Ty Tribbett. Man, it was some rapper and somebody else who's all on stage, right? And we remixed Kendrick Lamar's Drink, and we did this joint.
I definitely remember that
We
spiritual.
did Break. We demolished that place. And Press was up there. It went crazy, right? Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, yo, this has got to be the most insane moment in any youth conference. I swear, when I went to the spiritual encounter this year and I saw you up there, I was like, this dude is doing it. He's doing what we did, 4 of us by himself. So what I saw was like you took all that grace, like I got all this grace on me. And I said to myself, man, so that when I saw it, I just was proud beyond measure, which shows God is using you for your generation.
You know what I can say though? And I think this is for our youth. Yeah. We got to learn how to watch.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Watching y'all. And it wasn't we got to go up here and do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was they are lit right now. Like, what are you doing?
Listen.
Then you would come to the house like, yo, Nev. Like, I'm like, bro, you still on that tight time?
Hey, listen, I see how it's rubbed off on you, man. I'm like, that boy is. These are people. They're not coming to see YPJ now. They're not coming to see Dr. I now. They're not even coming to see Pastor Bashir. They're coming to see Minister Ivan.
And when I realized that,
yeah,
it changed my perspective even more.
Because it's bigger than you. There you go. You get it.
So I started to get to this point of I wouldn't even say like thank you when people would be like, no, you're doing a good job. I'm like, but that's not me, bro. Like one of my students walked up to me this past Sunday. We did the burning thing, and he was like, I needed this. Yeah. And I'm like, dude. I almost was so stiff for him. He was like, you know, I had nothing to say, and I was like, I didn't do this.
Man,
nothing that I did today was about me.
I always just say I'm glad you were blessed, man. That's how I had to take it, because you don't want them to feel awkward, but you know in yourself, like you said, you know, like God.
I ended up telling them like, this is about you.
Yeah, you just be like, I always tell them, like, man, the word of God, blah blah. I be like, man, I'm so glad you were blessed. God be praised. You know what I mean? Because I be struggling. Like, you ever been up there? You'll understand this. God will just start using you, right?
Right.
And you don't even remember what you said.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
No. I am the one for that. Like, they be like, no, you remember you gave us this analogy, and I be like, what? That's crazy, because that makes sense. I told you that.
Right? You be like, yo, I said that.
One kid was like, yo, you remember when you was breaking down Abraham? And I'm like, I broke down Abraham? He was like, yeah, like 3 weeks ago. I'm like, dude, I could go look at my notes and tell you what I did. I don't remember. He was like, so you don't remember what you be teaching? I'm like, I remember the gist of my lesson, dude, but I don't, in those moments.
You don't really.
I pray so hard before I go and teach to them in that worship moment.
Yeah. That
by the time I get up there, I'm like, I hope it's not me.
Nah, but it's when you study and you pray and you sit under good teaching. Absolutely. That's in there. And at the time, the Holy Spirit is going to bring it forward. And that's how you know you're growing in it, man. So, I mean, even like what we're doing right now, this is how you reach the next generation. It's conversation. It's not just preach it there. Nah, it's this, you know what I mean? So, I'm proud of you, man. I really mean.
Last thing before we go.
Yes, sir.
I need 2 things that you can get a youth that you feel can change their life right now.
First of all, you mentioned discipline. You gotta get discipline in this life. Discipline is forced obedience. I'm gonna say this, man. If you place an undisciplined person in an environment that tempts their desire, they're gonna fall every time.
Every time.
Every time. So you have to get disciplined, because discipline is how you're able to manage the success God has for you.
That's good.
Right? So when you get to that place of success, whatever it is you desire to do, if you lack discipline, the very thing that God allows you to be a part of, it can end up being more destructive than it is helpful to your life. Yeah. So I would tell anybody, number 1, you need to get disciplined. And number 2, We hear people say this all the time, man. Above all things, get wisdom, get understanding. That's important, but it's not just from the standpoint of random information. Like if you saying you're going to be a great basketball player, you need, before you learn how to dunk, to learn the game. Get understanding of the game.
Learn what a jump shot is.
That's what I'm saying. If you learn the game, the reason why it's so important is, let's say you make it to the league. Very few people in the league are superstars. Most guys are role players.
That know the game.
But if you don't know the game, you don't know the roles.
Right.
You saying I want to be a Fortune 500 business person. Okay, then study the game of Fortune 500. So I would say to anybody, man, get disciplined. And then from there, maximize wisdom and understanding in the area of life you feel like God has called you to. Guarantee you, man, success is the result. Guarantee you.
I told you, that's why I had him on the podcast. I mean, I just had to ask him, and you see he dropped knowledge, he dropped nuggets. I just want to thank you for doing this. We got a lot going on this week.
It's all good.
And so
we had to do it.
So to sit down and do this with you, it means the world to me.
And we got Jocelyn in the live studio.
And we got my god sister.
Yeah.
So that's always a plus.
All love, man.
Yeah, we filming something later this week, but
dope. It's gonna be
I'm glad that we had this moment.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm definitely gonna make sure that we keep doing this, because your voice to our generation is more important than you think.
Oh, wow. That means a lot, man.
I have friends that don't go to church that watch you exclusively because I have posted you and stay with you because of that.
Man, that means a lot, nephew. Wow.
And we have dialogue on your lessons.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is not just effective in your city and in your region. You've been on the Shade Room. You've been on these platforms.
Yeah.
But it's not that you've been on the platforms. It's that you're actually helping.
Man, I appreciate that, nephew. I do.
So, and I know Jocelyn can agree with me too. Myself, my peers, thank you for what you're doing. Keep teaching. Keep enlightening us.
Wow.
Keep learning, because when you learn, we learn.
Man, that sounds good. I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
And whatever you do, whenever you decide that you gonna slow down or stop, don't stop. Like, if you put down the senior pastor role, I need you to do something like this.
No, for sure.
Because your information and the way you can break things down to people, everybody needs to hear. It's not just for you.
Man.
So
I appreciate you, nephew. That means a lot. I love you, man. Thank you.
I love you too, man. I got a gift for you. I'm gonna give you a spiritual edible shirt. You ain't got one yet.
I need that joint.
I'm gonna get you.
I'm gonna wear it when I travel, so then it'll be on somebody's church page.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you a couple so you can have a couple, and I know you'll give them away to people. Sure. So I'm gonna give you some. But thank you again. You're a legend in the game. Legend. You are a legend.
Appreciate y'all, man.
There are generals, there are legends, there are superheroes, and then there are just pastors. That's a little shade, but you don't have to catch it if you don't know what I'm talking about. All right, man. It's been a great episode of Church Outside. We love you. Thank you again, we out.